10. Abercrombie Caves, New South Wales. The history of Abercrombie Caves in New South Wales is one of geological grandeur and rugged crime. This system is home to the stunning Grand Arch, the largest natural archway in the Southern Hemisphere. Long known to the Wiradjuri people, its European history is dominated by its use as a hideout for bushrangers in the 1800s. The notorious Ribbon Gang used the cave as their barracks in 1830, leading to a bloody confrontation with colonial forces. Even the famous Ben Hall Gang later used it as a refuge. The history after the bushrangers' defeat is defined by the echoes of their rebellion. Miners later used the Grand Arch to build a strange wooden dance floor, a jarring reminder of the rough, isolated life lived here. The real, chilling encounters are powerfully linked to the violence and desperation of the bushrangers. Visitors walking the trails around the bushrangers' cave and the Grand Arch have reported the sudden, sharp scent of gunpowder and stale tobacco, often accompanied by the terrifying sound of a loud, human scream or distant, frantic shouting. The most intense paranormal report is the sighting of a dark, muscular figure wearing tattered, antiquated clothing, seen standing near the cave entrance, only to vanish into the darkness. It is believed to be the angry, restless spirit of a Ribbon Gang member, forever reliving the desperation of their final stand. This cave is a historical horror show, where the ghosts of the past are loud, desperate, and entirely real to those who encounter them. 9. Kutta Kutta Caves, Northern Territory. The Kutta Kutta Caves in the Northern Territory are a remarkable system of limestone caverns, known to the local Jawoyn people for thousands of years. The name Kutta Kutta means place of many stars in the Jawoyn language, a reference to the way the sparkling quartz crystals within the cave walls resemble a night sky. Discovered by Europeans in the early 1900s, the caves have since been developed for guided tours, becoming an important nature park. The history after modern development is one of preservation, protecting the delicate formations and rare inhabitants, which include the endangered ghost and orange horseshoe bats. This natural, spiritual significance is the core of its haunted reputation. The real, vivid encounters reported here are entirely spiritual and atmospheric. The Jawoyn people have always felt a deep, ancestral presence here, and non-indigenous visitors often report feeling it too. The key haunted incident is a powerful, sudden feeling of spiritual coldness and heavy pressure when standing in the main chamber, sometimes accompanied by a sense of unseen eyes watching. Unlike an aggressive haunting, this presence is often interpreted as protective and warning, the spirits of the Jawoyn ancestors making it clear that visitors are on sacred, living land. It's a chilling reminder that, beneath the sparkling formations, you are walking through a place of deep, continuing cultural power. 8. Kelly Hill Caves, Kangaroo Island, South Australia. Kelly Hill Caves on Kangaroo Island, South Australia, were formed from ancient coastal dunes that hardened into porous limestone. Millions of years of percolating rainwater created this unique network of underground sinkholes and caverns. The history of the cave's discovery in 1885 is perhaps the most colorful on this list. A stockman named Fred Kelly was searching for a lost horse named Kate when both he and the horse famously fell into a sinkhole. They named the caves after the horse, not the man. The history after this clumsy discovery is one of development into a major tourist attraction, but the legend of the lost horse and its owner persists, coloring the site's reputation. The real, chilling encounter at Kelly Hill is tied to the cave's chaotic formation and the loss of life they represent. The vast network of sinkholes served as a natural trap for animals, yielding a wealth of fossils, including the extinct Kangaroo Island dwarf emu. Visitors have reported hearing the faint, distressing sounds of animals, a whinny, a bleat, or a scrabbling sound, that are clearly not modern wildlife, seemingly emanating from deep within the rock. This auditory haunting is believed to be the distressed echoes of the animals that fell to their deaths over millennia. More specifically, some people claim to hear the plaintive whinny of a mare, thought to be the ghost of the namesake, Kate Kelly, forever lost in the labyrinth that bears her name. 7. Buchan Caves, Victoria. The spectacular limestone labyrinth of Buchan Caves in Victoria is a geological masterpiece, carved over millions of years by the waters of an underground river. For the Gunai-Kurnai people, this region, which they called Buchan Munja, was a spiritually significant meeting place for thousands of years. Early European exploration began in the mid-1800s, leading to the public opening of spectacular caverns like the Fairy Cave and the Royal Cave. The traditional Gunai-Kurnai people had a respectful fear of the deep caves, believing they were inhabited by wicked and mischievous spirits known as Nyals. This spiritual belief sets the stage for the cave's reputation after their modern discovery. The real haunted incidents at Buchan often center on the primal, supernatural fear embedded in its indigenous past. Visitors report profound sensations of being pinched or pushed in the tighter confines, particularly in areas where the air grows heavy and thick. More unsettling is the common report of unexplained lights, small, flickering orbs or streaks of luminescence, that vanish when approached. These are often dismissed as reflections, but the consistency of the reports, particularly in the older sections of the fairy cave, points to something more persistent. Are they the mischievous Nyals, guarding their ancient home, or the spirits of the traditional owners whose warnings against venturing too deep were ignored by the newcomers? Visitors agree, there is something ancient, watchful, and deeply unsettling about the darkness here. 6. Capricorn Caves, Queensland. Before the thrill seekers arrived, Capricorn Caves in Queensland was an ancient, silent world carved from limestone. Its history dates back to 1881, when it was discovered by Norwegian migrant John Olsen. The caves themselves are steeped in Aboriginal history, a sacred site for the Darumbal people. Olsen established the site as a commercial venture, creating one of Queensland's longest-running attractions, famous for its magnificent cathedral cave where light shines through a shaft during the summer solstice. The history after its opening is largely one of natural wonder, but the vast, echoey chambers of this privately owned system have also become a hotbed for unverified, though widely reported, paranormal activity. The real, chilling encounters here often involve disembodied sounds. Visitors and staff exploring the deeper, less trafficked passages have reported hearing the clear, rhythmic sound of footsteps following them, only to turn and find the silence absolute and the passage empty. Others have claimed to hear faint, spectral singing or chanting in the cathedral cave when it's closed and completely empty. Some believe these are the echoes of the Darumbal people, whose ancestral spirits are said to resonate throughout the hallowed grounds. These caves are not haunted by tragedy, but by a powerful, ancient sense of lingering spiritual occupancy, a continuous performance echoing in the magnificent silence of the deep earth. 5. Tunnel Creek Cave, Western Australia. Tunnel Creek Cave, Dimuluru, in Western Australia isn't haunted by geological forces, but by human history. This 750-meter-long natural tunnel, carved through the ancient limestone of the Napier Range, was a vital hideout. Before European contact, it was a sacred site for the Bunuba people. Its history dramatically shifted in the late 1800s when it became the base for the famed Aboriginal resistance fighter, Jandamarra, known as Pigeon. Jandamarra led a rebellion against European colonization, using the tunnel's remoteness and darkness as his strategic advantage. His reign as a fugitive ended tragically in 1897, when he was shot and killed by a tracker, at the cave's very entrance. The area's history after this event is defined by the sorrowful end of a warrior and the deep cultural significance of the cave as a site of colonial conflict. The real, vivid encounters here are not of a ghostly nature but are inextricably linked to Jandamarra. Cultural guides and visitors have spoken of a profound sense of an intense presence at the tunnel entrance and the main cavern. People report sudden feelings of overwhelming dread, coupled with an instinct to flee, particularly near the spot where Jandamarra fell. Most powerfully, some claim to have heard a fleeting, sharp, and mournful single gunshot sound echoing off the limestone walls, a terrifying, ephemeral replay of the final moment of the great warrior who used the cave as his last, tragic stronghold. His spirit, the Bunuba people say, protects the place fiercely. 4. Devil's Coach House Cave, Blue Mountains, New South Wales. Part of the greater Jenolan system, the Devil's Coach House Cave in the Blue Mountains, New South Wales, is less a traditional cavern and more a gigantic, awe-inspiring natural archway. Its history is tied to the Gundungurra people who used its subterranean waters for healing. The name itself comes from two distinct early European stories. One suggests the first explorer, James Watland, declared he'd been to the end of the world in the Devil's Coach House. The other, more dramatic tale, is from a novice camper, Luke White, who claimed he saw the devil himself driving a horse-drawn coach charging through the colossal archway. The sheer scale of the archway, up to 57 meters high, gives it a monumental, Gothic feel, providing the perfect stage for its after-haunted reputation. Unlike the interior Jenolan Caves, the coach house's haunting incidents often occur in the transition area, the massive portal where light meets deep shadow. The real haunted incidents revolve around the lingering energy of that initial, terrifying vision. Visitors, particularly after dusk, have reported a strong, sudden scent of sulfur and burnt wood that vanishes instantly. More unsettlingly, others have heard the faint but distinct sound of an old horse-drawn carriage moving at speed, echoing through the huge arch, though no vehicle is present. It's a powerful, atmospheric haunting, a primal fear of the dark given form by a terrifying, repeated sound and a sinister, sulfurous scent, suggesting the devil's spectral coach is still making its demonic run. 3. Margaret River Caves, Western Australia. The stunning limestone caverns along the Leeuwin Naturalist Ridge in Western Australia, including Jewel Cave, Mammoth Cave, and Lake Cave, share a majestic prehistoric history. For a million years, these caves formed a natural time capsule, collecting megafauna fossils and creating massive, shimmering formations. Mammoth Cave even shows signs it may have been occupied by early Australians. Their history before haunted is a story of sublime geology and ancient life. However, the reputation of these particular caves being distinctly haunted by specific, recurring ghosts is somewhat different from the others on this list. While they are often listed among Australia's spooky sites, this is more due to their inherently cavernous, often dark, and eerily silent nature, which lends itself to ghost stories and psychological terror, rather than documented recurring spirit encounters. Real, reported incidents here are less about spectral beings and more about the palpable feeling of the place. Visitors and staff have reported fleeting, unexplainable sensations, the sound of unseen whispers echoing through large chambers, a sudden, localized drop in temperature, or the distinct, uncomfortable feeling of being watched when absolutely alone, especially in the deeper, darker sections of Jewel Cave. Essentially, the Margaret River Caves are haunted by the ancient idea of what a deep, dark cave represents, a feeling of being utterly isolated in a place older than human memory, where the sheer size and silence play tricks on the mind, raising the hairs on your neck with the most primal, real-life fear of the unknown. 2. Narracourt Caves, South Australia. The history of Narracourt Caves in South Australia is ancient, a breathtaking testament to millions of years of evolution, primarily famous for being an internationally recognized fossil site, a literal graveyard of extinct Australian megafauna. In 1845, however, early European explorers made a grim discovery in Blanche Cave that changed the atmosphere forever: the calcified, well-preserved body of an indigenous man. The history after this discovery is defined by a deep tragedy and disrespect. In 1861, a showman named Thomas Craig stole the body, intending to exhibit the petrified blackfellow as a gruesome spectacle. While the body was recovered by police, the ensuing legal and moral turmoil only added layers of pain and lingering injustice to the location. The haunting of Narracourt is deeply tied to this desecration. Though the body was eventually removed, the spirit of the deceased man is said to remain. Unlike a typical ghost, the atmosphere in Blanche Cave is reported to be one of profound, heavy sadness and unease, particularly near the location where the body was found. Some locals claim a deep, spiritual presence lingers, a mournful energy tied to the loss of both life and dignity. The true haunted incident here is the overwhelming, real-life trauma inflicted upon the site, manifesting as an echo of sorrow that many sensitive visitors feel as they walk past the silent rock ledges. 1. Jenolan Caves, New South Wales. Before the whispers began, the Jenolan Caves in New South Wales were known as Binumia, or Dark Holes in the Mountain, a sacred place to the Gundungurra indigenous people for millennia. They knew of its curative waters, bringing the sick to bathe in the Devil's Coach house pools. Then came the Europeans around 1838, and a spectacular tourist destination was born. By the late 1800s, the magnificent cave's house accommodation was constructed, welcoming gentry and guides alike. This stunning, geological marvel is where the after-haunted history truly begins. The most famous spirit here is one who simply loved the place too much to leave: James Cavosso Wibberd. Wibberd was the superintendent of caves for nearly 50 years until his death in 1942. It's rumored his ashes were even scattered deep within the labyrinth. The real, chilling encounters center squarely on his lingering presence. Guides and visitors, particularly near the river cave and the pool of reflections, have felt an unseen tap on the shoulder. Even more distinctly, there are numerous reports of a neatly dressed old man in a crumpled suit being sighted in the depths, sometimes pointing or commenting on a specific formation. One chilling account tells of a guide seeing a button fall into the pool of reflections, only for a spectral man beside him to instantly whisper, "It's a button off an old tunic." It's James, still conducting his subterranean rounds, a perpetual, silent guardian of his beloved caverns, ensuring no visitor misses a thing, even in the afterlife.